Good day everyone, welcome back, and if you are new to my channel, welcome, and please do not forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to hear more of these spooky stories, please feel free to click the notification button so you'll get updated on my every upload. And without further ado, let's start with story number 1. I have been wanting to share a story with you for a while, so here it goes. In 2007, when I was 12 years old, my family and I took a trip to Key Biscayne, Florida with some of my cousins and family friends. Naturally, while at the resort, my cousins and I would all hang out at the kids club, where there are always a bunch of kids to hang out with, epic chicken fingers and ranch dressing, and fun games for us to play. There was a director of the kids club who watched us and facilitated all the activities. His name was Dan. In retrospect, Dan was a major fucking creep. He was around 40 years old, super tall and skinny, and was balding badly. The worst part is that sometimes he had us call him Dan, the animal man. Side note, these sort of memories leave me in awe of how naive and blinded to danger I was, and I'm sure most were as a kid. If I ever meet this guy now, I literally wouldn't want to get within a 5-foot radius of him. And there I was as a 12-year-old, thinking he rocked. Time is a wonderful thing. Anyhow, I digress. It was made clear to all of us that for unknown reasons, Dan was leaving the hotel in a week. None of this fazed me. On our last day at the hotel, I lost my cell phone. It was a bright blue chocolate cell phone, if anyone remembers those gems with a spinny wheel. I quickly told my parents I couldn't find my phone, and considering this was already the second phone I lost that year, my mom yelled at me and told me that if I didn't find it, I'd be grounded. I hurriedly ran around the hotel looking for my phone, and along my way, I went into the kids' club to see if anyone had found it. The room that was typically bustling with kids and activity was eerily quiet and empty. Dan was sitting on a couch, all by himself.
Hey Dan, did you by any chance see my phone?
I asked. Dan responded.
Yeah, I found it and put it in the lost and found in the basement. Come with me.
Thinking absolutely nothing of this, I mindlessly followed behind Dan as he led me around the back of the hotel. We walked about 3 minutes and arrived at the foot of a stairwell going into the basement. We were standing at the back of the hotel in a strange area and no one else was in sight.
Is it down here?
I asked, confused. I was staring down a long flight of stairs leading to absolute darkness. The walls were made of unpainted concrete, and it looked no more than a storage area, let alone a basement with a lost and found. Dan nodded and held the door open for me, motioning me to head down the stairs. Something in my 12-year-old self suddenly woke up. I'm not sure if it was instinct, fear, or fucking luck, but I immediately knew I had to get the hell out of there. Before Dan could say or do anything, I blurted out,
Never mind. I think I left it with my mom.
and darted away from the stairwell and back to the hotel lobby. I was so shaken up because something about the situation didn't feel right. I knew he was going to hurt me, and as a kid who wore rose-colored glasses and was overly trusting of others, this really meant something. I tried to compose myself and figured I'd investigate a bit more. I walked up to the concierge of the hotel and asked him where the lost and found is because I had lost my phone. The nice woman at the front desk told me that the lost and found was right there at their desk. She then asked me what kind of phone I lost, and after I told her it was a blue chocolate flip phone, she smiled and pulled it out of the box under her desk. "Someone turned it in here earlier," she said, and handed me my phone.
Wait, you're telling me the lost and found isn't in the basement?
I stammered. "Oh no, sweetie, the hotel is under construction and the basement is just being rebuilt. There's no electricity down there or anything yet." This scared the absolute shit out of me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this man was dangerous. At the time, I was sharing a hotel room with my cousin, and she was the only person I told. Considering she was 8 at that time, I think I really freaked her out. I'm now 26, and I still think back to that moment and wonder, what if? What would have happened if I went down in the basement with Dan, the animal man? It feels truly like one of the most critical junctures of my entire life, and I am so happy I knew to get the hell out of there before it was too late. I recently contacted the hotel to inquire about past kid club employees named Dan from 2007 just to see if he's still around or on a sex offender list or in jail. I even told the HR this whole story, but they still refused to give me any information about him and sounded pretty sketchy about it. We'll continue to do research, and if I ever find more information, I'll add to the post. One evening about 5 years ago, I traveled to Loch Ness with a friend to see the loch and the surrounding area. We had planned on arriving by afternoon, spend the evening, then head to the hotel when it got dark. That was perfect. We got there with no problems and spent the day together, taking in the beautiful landscape. The moon began to rise, and then we decided it was time to head back as we had spent the majority there. As my friend began to drive back, she went around a sharp bend, and I mean the word to its very meaning. She narrowly avoided a man standing on the edge. She was quite understandably in shock and slammed the brakes in sheer panic. She began to pant, verging on hyperventilation. As I tried to calm her, she had believed she hit the man when she swerved. The man was okay, as we later learned, because he walked towards the car and apologized for standing so near to the road. After he tried to make small talk with repeated apologies, he showed me 2 pictures and asked if I knew who the people were because he is trying to track them down. It was dark, so I switched the light on and quickly glanced. Then I said I didn't. I showed my friend and she just shook her head without properly looking. She was still in shock. The man didn't ask for the photos back, nor did the conversation go any further. He apologized again and wished us good night. Without realizing, I joked that we would be better back at the hotel. He laughed and walked off. We drove on. When we were back in the hotel room, I looked at the 2 pictures attentively and felt sick to the pit of my stomach. One picture was of me, and my friend stood at the water edge overlooking the loch with my arm wrapped around her. The picture had been taken from behind. The second picture was of me and my friend walking together, our faces clearly seen. The picture was taken from the side, but it must have been done in a wooded area because you could see tree branches. We both sat for about an hour with the pictures in our fingertips facing us, speechless. I tried to remember the man, but I couldn't remember any features because of the darkness besides a beard, glasses, and that he was soft-spoken. Later that night, I was awoken by my friend who was screaming frantically. When I ran into the room, she said that a man with glasses was watching her through the window. We packed up and left. I've never been back to Loch Ness since. Two years ago, my husband and I flew to LA for a weekend getaway. We stayed at a boutique hotel off of Sunset. It's more of a hipster type place, not normally somewhere I'd stay, but it was nice, clean, and had a good vibe. We met up with our friends who live in LA and went out for dinner and drinks. It was a late night and we came back to the hotel. I was exhausted and jet-lagged. It was 1:30 a.m. or something like that. My husband is a very deep sleeper. I'm an extremely light sleeper, except when I've had a bunch of drinks, which I had definitely consumed that night, so it was lights out for both of us very quickly. Around 3 a.m., I only knew the time after everything has happened. I woke up suddenly and opened my eyes. There's a light on in our room. The room had been totally dark when we went to bed. The light came from the doorway, which illuminated the silhouette of a man standing at the foot of the bed, just standing there, staring. For a moment, I am speechless, confused, and also slightly intoxicated. I haven't yet moved. My reaction is delayed, and then the stark fear and reality kicked in. I gasp and say, "What the fuck?" The man was wearing a red plaid shirt and had a dark hair and beard. I couldn't make out his features as my eyes were adjusting to waking up, and the lighting that illuminated him shadowed half of his face. The man says,
I need to speak with Drake.
I know this may sound somewhat comical, but I assure you at the time it was terrifying. I scream, "Get the fuck out," which jolts my husband awake, who immediately sits up and sees the man at the foot of our bed. My husband is 6'5", which may not be evident given half of his body is underneath the bedding. But either way, the man responds,
Sorry, wrong room.
and bolts out, slamming the door behind him. My husband jumps up and runs for the door, but I stopped him from going outside into the hallway. Who knows if the man is waiting there, trying to lure him out, or whether there are other men out there ready to pounce. I keep looking through the peephole, but don't see anything. At this point, we are both shocked and in disbelief, and probably still drunk. We call down to the front desk. No one answers. We call repeatedly and still, no one answers. We contemplate what to do, and around 20 minutes later, we decided to get dressed and go down to the front desk. There is an employee, and there's also a bar in the lobby. My husband walks around to see if he can spot the guy who was in our room, and he's searching. I go up and start telling the guy behind the front desk what happened, but as I begin the story, I burst into tears. I realize how shaken up I am. The employee gets the manager and he asks me what time the man came in the room. But I don't know how long he was standing there until I woke up and saw him. I think he must have been there a long time for me to just wake up. My husband comes back empty-handed. We go back up to the room. The next day, the manager calls and says there wasn't anything on the security cameras. I did not believe him. He offers us a free night at the hotel as a compensation. Even though he claims he didn't see anything, we take the free night because what else is there to do? We just want to go about the rest of our mini vacation. Why was this man in our room? How did he have a working keycard? What would have happened if I hadn't woken up? Our door was locked, but clearly someone had a duplicate keycard. Here's what I've learned if you don't already. Always put the deadlock on your hotel room door. It was something we never thought to do, and now I always check it twice. I heard this story from a girl who used to work as an international flight attendant on a famous Eastern airline. She swears by this is real. When the airplane's crew land on a country they don't live in, they go to a hotel where they will usually spend the night before the next flight. This girl told me that the crew loved to say that the hotels they stayed in were haunted. It wasn't different with that specific hotel they were staying in Malaysia. She didn't care much though. However, when it was around 3 a.m., she woke up to find a man in her room. Because she was still sleepy, she didn't care much, just told him to get out of her room. The man ran to the door, opened it and left immediately. She got up and went to the bathroom, finally realizing how creepy was what had just happened. Hotels usually have safety door locks inside the rooms for the guests to use, but hers were broken, so she wasn't able to use it. A few months later, she ended up having to go on the same travel route and spend the night in that hotel again. This time, she was able to use the safety lock and went to sleep. Again, in the middle of the night, she woke up and noticed someone was messing with the doorknob, trying to get in. She woke up again, totally frozen and unable to do anything. She waited for a few minutes that seemed like eternity, until the person finally gave up and left. On the flight back, she told other crew members about her creepy experience. They seemed to believe her and told her about what another girl from the airline experienced in that hotel as well. The second girl was also spending the night there after a very long flight. When she woke up in the morning to get dressed and leave with the rest of the crew, she realized she wasn't able to find her work shoes. She looked everywhere in the room but couldn't find them. That was very strange, considering she barely had any luggage. She went to the hotel's hall, where the rest of the crew was waiting for her, to tell them she couldn't find her shoes. Some people went back to the room with her to help to look for them. After a while, one of them asked, "Have you looked inside the safe box?" She was like, "No, I didn't even touch it," since she obviously didn't need to use it. Anyway, they opened it and found her shoes in there, along with a piece of paper. Weird enough, they opened it and it was written, "It was fun to watch you sleep." This happened when I was 6 years old. I am now 22, female. My family traveled to British Columbia for my aunt's wedding. I was the flower girl, and the wedding took place at a more remote church ground beside the ocean with beautiful docks. The wedding went off with no issues. I tossed some flowers and scratched at my itchy dress. Following the ceremony, everyone came outside to do photos on the docks. I got distracted playing in the dirt while the wedding party moved down the dock without me. My mom, of course, was distracted talking to her sister, and I was usually glued to her side anyway. While I was drawing in the dirt with a stick, a man in a suit approached me. He didn't look dangerous and said he was a cousin or something of my now uncle. He did look familiar to me, but I didn't know why. He said my mom and auntie had tasked him with watching me while they took photos and stuff. I didn't know any better, so he took my hand, began walking me, not back to the church where the reception would be, but towards the dirt road leading out of the property. Everything went fine and dandy, and we were now almost up the road where a tree line blocked the exit. I heard my mom scream,
Hey! Don't you fucking touch my daughter.
and turn around to see her running down the dock towards us. Now, for the context, my mom is a heavier woman, and that is the fastest I have ever seen her run in my life. She looked absolutely foaming at the mouth, enraged. The man squeezed my hand like he was going to make a break for it, but I guess he decided otherwise when the rest of the guests saw my mom screaming and running and started making a beeline for us too. He jumped into the woods beside the dirt road. Nobody recognized him, and when the police came, there wasn't much they could do because a statement from a scared 6-year-old isn't very useful. The police ended up assigning someone to sit at the only entrance to the property while the reception took place in case he came back for whatever reason. My mom kept me glued to her and left a little early with my brother and I. It dawned on me when we were going back to the hotel that the man was from the hotel. I had seen him looming about at the swimming pool and in the continental breakfast room. Apparently, he was eavesdropping and somehow found out we were going to that wedding. I told my mom, and she was furious. She told the hotel front desk and got me to tell them what he looked like. With the key information that he was wearing a suit, they told us he had already checked out in a hurry and left. They said they would file a police report with the information he had provided when checking in, though he paid for the room with cash, so there was no way of knowing if he was using an alias. My mom decided to take us to another hotel on the other side of town that night. The police never followed up with her, and a few days later, we went back to my home province. I never understood how much danger I was in until I got a little older.